Good evening, Jan.
Michael, good morning.
How do you do, sir?
Everything going fine here. What about you?
Very good, very good. We had a bit of weather yesterday, had a bit of hail. That's kind of a normal thing around here, so um, survived that. But
But
yeah, making a lot of progress, doing a lot of fun stuff.
okay. On this side, I saw you had some new documentation on the modeling.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah,
Um,
so one of the projects that I'm working on with Janaga is getting the replicator as a service available in the Azure Marketplace.
mhm,
And so in order to respond to messages coming from Azure and get things set up in the portal, um, you need to respond to some webhooks, and you do that
mhm,
through what they call a landing page application. Um, Fortunately, they have one that's just built for you. So all you have to do is clone the repo, deploy it, and then
mhm.
start to tinker with it, start to modify it a bit. So one of the modifications that I'm making is that every time it gets a webhook, it creates a fact, and then it'll distribute those facts over to the portal. And
Mhm.
now the portal will know when you've subscribed, unsubscribed, activated, deactivated, when you've renewed, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so it's Jinaga in the system itself.
Yep, yep, yep. And the
Great.
the portal's um, already built on Janaga, so
Mhm.
yeah, this demonstrates the integration capabilities.
Okay.
So I figured, hey, let's share.
Um, One thing on the stream from last time, I sounded very loud and you sounded hardly. Uh,
Yeah,
was I could hardly hear you.
yeah, and in fact, yeah, during the while we were talking, I was looking at the, the monitors
Mhm.
over here. Yeah, still making some adjustments. That
Okay.
should be better. But yeah, I definitely need to keep an eye on the monitors.
Uh, um, I had some remarks. I went through the documentation step by step while I was working on the model.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a few remarks here. Okay, there was also that. Um, and it starts by login.
Mm-hmm.
For the login, there is very little information there, and myself, I forgot how it worked.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is. It is better documented on the
mm,
JavaScript side. Unfortunately, the API is parallel. But yeah, that is one
it,
place that I'm
that
trying to shore things
the
up.
other information was where was just jinaga.com.
Yeah, the other place. Yeah, exactly. Janaga.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
uh, because it's getting perhaps on. Is there a link on the jinaga.net site that points to jinaga.com?
There is actually. So on Janaga.net, uh, if you look at where it says in.net, that's actually a drop down to the other languages. So right now, just one other language um, on the home
Um,
page.
yeah. Okay, yeah, there. If you go to JavaScript, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's it's searching a little bit.
mm-hmm.
And indeed, there was the description of, yeah, okay, I have to read that again.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
how do I get back in JavaScript? Yeah,
yeah. So I
would
am
it?
I am shoring up the .net uh, documentation. But yeah, that's right. The login I have not documented yet in .net.
Yeah. Um, Instead of having that little combo box, .NET JavaScript,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be better to just have radio
Oh.
buttons?
Oh, I see. So you could
Yeah.
see them. Well, I want
Well,
that. I
well,
want that list to get just huge. I want it to be
no,
any
no,
language you want, but.
Yeah, no, the problem now is you look at that screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize that the triangle was actually a combo box that opened.
Yeah. Okay.
So while if you just have radio buttons, then you see the different choices next to each other,
Mm-hmm.
because it's and is it a good idea to keep on using two domain names, jinaga.net and jinaga.com, or would it
Um,
be better to have just jinaga.com? Um,
yeah. Yeah. That is a marketing choice, and it is having is some impact on yeah, and maintenance, as you might imagine. So, like in Docs, the replicator page is exactly the same between the two. There's no difference between replicators. Um, but um, but yeah, so I do want you to feel at home as an application developer, and and so if you see somebody else's language and it's like I have to ignore that in order to feel at home with my language. Um, so I do want to keep that feeling, which of course you can do with one domain. Um, but yeah, that is a choice. I don't know if it's the best choice.
yeah, but that would allow you to have jinaga.com is neutral,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have jinaga.com/.net and
Mm-hmm.
jinaga.com/JavaScript
Mm-hmm.
and jinaga.com/Fortran
Yeah.
or COBOL.
Yeah. Which when we get to more than two languages, we probably will do something like that.
Because
Because yeah,
.com is not .javascript.
right. Yeah. Yeah. There is no .js. the
Yeah.
the JavaScript community's been looking for a JS top level domain
Mm.
for a long time, and not been granted it. And yeah, .NET actually is not the Microsoft top level domain. Microsoft picked that
Mm.
brand in order to use that top level domain. So,
Mm.
um, so yeah, I'm kind of sneaking in there with the Janaga.net domain. Um,
And then
yeah, and then
if you go to
Janaga.net
jinaga.com,
could redirect to janaga.com/.net.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
you go to jinaga.com, you get an overview of all the available languages.
Mm-hmm.
Feel at home in .NET, feel at home in JavaScript.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yep. Yeah. I think that's where we're gonna end up going. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. So
So
you don't really have to convince me.
that's okay. Then um, let's go to some code where we left last time. Oh, is that? Wait, I'm not sure whether I put the readability. This one, no. I need better text readability. That should be more clear.
Yes.
Is it readable?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had this, wait, go to that screen, for example. We have j.renderFacts
Mm-hmm.
here, but for the types, it is, where is it? No, these are
It's
facts.
renderer.
We have
Render types, yeah.
jinaga.graphics.renderer.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if we just have j.renderTypes.
You know, that's not a bad idea. I did make a
Just
change
yeah,
this week where
yeah,
I took
but
render facts out of renderer, so you don't accidentally call it when it's supposed to be an extension method. But yeah, I could turn render types into an extension method even though it doesn't need the Janaga client. Um, I would say in addition to renderer.renderTypes, and yeah, the thinking is that you can do a whole bunch of modeling before you even create a Janaga client. So yeah, I don't want to take renderer.render types away from you, but yeah, making render types part of the extension method does make sense.
Yeah. By the way, in your documentation, you used version 18,
Mm-hmm.
but if I don't, 18 is not yet available. I'm still getting 17.
Oh, I thought that. Yeah, I thought that I'd published 18. Yeah, I was.
Oh, if I
Hmm.
no.
Yeah, if you restart, does it?
So it's
There we go.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's clear outputs is not enough. You really have to restart.
Yeah, yeah, because the kernel, the runtime, will cache
Okay.
the NuGet package. Because yeah, if you explicitly choose a version number and then you try to change that version number, it's going to say, oh no, I've already got this other one cached. You can't replace it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, on the one hand, I like being in the practice of being explicit in the notebook so that things don't break, especially if you have a break and change. But on the other hand, that does mean that I need to update the documentation every time I release a new version.
Yeah.
I guess if it's important, then I'll have to update the documentation anyway. So I'll just pick up the important changes.
So so that is okay. The render types. So all this we saw last time. All this as well. Tags and effects, the workers by name. Yeah. So I think we got until here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's run all this again.
Yeah, that one will put the results above the cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all workers by name for supplier one. And indeed, we have there, I had two names. I'm a single worker.
Mm-hmm.
You are another worker with just one name. Then we had another worker with one name, and I think a worker without name.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing all of them.
Excellent. Which, by the way, last week I did add a whole bunch of documentation on modeling, and this was one of the. Well, wait a minute. No, I'm still working on another round of red documentation that's on link that includes this specific learning here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is coming up.
Then if I just want to show one name, I'm using this one.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, I just have Jandan, not Jan, wrong. And for the last one here, I have name Spirit.
Yeah.
So that's working.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you would do in a view model. Yeah.
Yeah, now let me show, switch to the application. Let's change window. So what we were trying to model. So here let me make it a little bit smaller perhaps.
Yeah.
So that's a screen with all the tasks that have to be executed. If we want to add a new task, do you see that screen that pops up or not?
Yes. Oh no, I don't see the pop-up.
Wait, then I probably have to change window again. Yeah, here we are. Okay.
There's the pop-up. Yep.
So we are trying to model that screen. So last time, yeah, it's in Dutch. So the uitvoerder is the worker. So here we have that combo box with 3 workers. So we select the worker. Last time we already had a query to get these names.
Yeah.
Then we have to select a client here.
Mm-hmm.
You see, for the client, we have the client name, but the client had different yards, or could have different yards.
Okay, we're not
So,
seeing that that drop down either, but
ah,
it's yeah. I'm
yeah,
sure you probably can't change Windows to a temporary drop down like that.
right. Let me
So
see.
so yeah, just kind of describe to
No,
us.
no, it disappears.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
figured it
actually,
would.
it's a combo box with just a name, but when you open it, you get a multi-column combo box, which has the name, which has the street number, the postal code, and the place of a particular yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can have a customer with multiple yards. And when you select one, do you see my cursor?
I did. I don't see it right now.
No, not yeah. So you have on top you have klant, which is customer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have werklocatie, which is the yard location. There
Mm-hmm.
you see the street, you see the number, postal code, place, and country. Land is country.
Mm-hmm.
One time I had an English version. I should look it up.
Yeah.
But so when you select a customer, it fills in automatically all that. You can change it. Then here, below that, you have a task. So, for example, here, task 1.
Mm-hmm.
When do you have to execute? You can say, for example, next Monday, and you have to be there at lunchtime, 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You can add some remarks. You can add the technician, and you can add some machines, whatever. But so now I
Okay.
was looking for that to fill up the customer combo box and the yard location.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So
And
if we,
by the way,
yeah,
you might want to take screenshots of this and then drop the screenshots um, into the notebook. That would help kind of cross reference, sort of like in
okay,
the annotated wireframes, kind of
yeah,
that idea. Cross reference those two.
let's try
Yeah.
that. Can I just copy and paste that in a notebook?
Um, how do you do? Wait a minute. Uh, yeah.
For example,
Trying to remember exactly
yeah.
how that worked. Well,
So never mind.
yeah,
Let's
that's
go.
just a thought.
Single user. This for the names. So
And I'm still seeing um,
okay.
the dialogue right
We are. We should be able to
now.
show more things at the same time.
Yeah.
So, well, I just did copy and paste, but in the markdown it's not working.
Okay.
How can I show a PNG in markdown?
Yeah, I do know that that's the markdown syntax, but
Yeah,
maybe. Oh, yeah. It should be relative path. So if the PNG is in the same folder as the IPYNB, then you can do a dot slash and then the name of the
okay,
PNG.
so wait, I can,
Yeah.
let me see that PNG. So let's copy that.
And you
Wait,
know what?
oh
In
no,
fact, that might have actually done it. You were just looking at the markdown instead of the render.
oh,
So.
I'm making the window bigger, and that's not, not, no, why is he, I just want to move that window, that's all. And it's too wide. Like that. Then open this one, copy that picture.
Mm-hmm.
And now just, yeah, no, I wanted to have the,
Yeah.
yeah. So if I
Yeah, so it'll be
not
bang.
PNG and here,
Yeah, you need exclamation point and then square brackets around it. All right, so now if you hit the check mark, when you hover over the markdown, you'll see a check mark up in the corner. Yeah. Oh, well. Okay, that's not quite right.
one day it will.
Yeah.
Okay. I will check it after this, and then
Yeah.
we can add it. But so
Okay, so yeah, we're trying to get
yeah.
the clients and their yards.
So I added a client to a supplier.
Mm-hmm.
A client also has a name. For the client, I need a date time
Mm-hmm.
because I can have multiple clients. Then clients can have multiple yards. So
Yep.
again, a date time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I need to add a mutable address record.
Yes.
So that points to a client yard, and I have street, number, postal code, place, and country. So multiple fields in one mutable record.
Very nice. Yes.
So let's execute that. That's good. I render them. So we see we have the supplier, the client, the
Mm-hmm.
yard, and the mutable address and client name. Then I define a few of these records. And so here we have them. Yeah, too small the screen. Have a supplier. I have two. That supplier has two clients. First client has 1 yard
Mm-hmm.
with where I had two addresses, different workstations
Yep.
assigned two addresses,
Yep.
and then somebody corrected it in single address.
Excellent.
The other client has 2 yards,
Mm-hmm.
and both of them have just one address. So here we have about all possibilities.
Yep. And when you have
Then I
one
then I
client with no
made
yards.
up. I will add that. Then I made a query all clients by names for a particular supplier.
Mm-hmm.
So this is essentially the same what we did last week for the usernames.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run that, I get here my descriptive language.
Yeah.
If I query this, I get indeed two clients. I have our first client and I have our second client.
Yes.
But we don't only want our clients, we want also to have the yards.
Yes.
So there it gets a little bit more complicated. So we from clients, from yards, and we do a first selection where we have the client, the yard, and the yard addresses.
Mm-hmm.
But because the yard addresses have multiple fields, I group them again here in this select clause.
Yes. I like it.
So if we execute that, and then we can execute this query. And now, for example, this client. So we have this client which has a name somewhere, I think.
In
No,
this
I
one,
didn't
you
get
didn't
the
do the
no,
name. Yeah.
no. I should do the name. He has a yard, and he has just a single address. This one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was looking, yeah, for the last address, which is always a single address in this case. And so this is our second client.
Yeah. So this client has 2 yards, so you get 2 rows. Yeah.
Client
Yeah, so you can see that one was created at 43
What?
seconds after, the other one 43 seconds after, so those are the same clients
Wait,
that we're seeing in those two.
this is client. It's I'm
Mhm.
losing I'm
Yeah,
losing the view. Where do I see my client here? 'Cause this is the same client, no?
the index 1 and 2 are the same clients, I believe.
So this
Yeah,
client is on the same time, yeah,
yeah. In fact, well,
and
all
he
those times
has.
look the same because it's only showing uh, to the second. It's not showing to the millisecond.
Right, let's
But
see the addresses.
yeah,
That's more clear.
yeah.
So this is Second Yard Road.
Uh-huh.
This was the rural road, and this was the main street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a tree.
Yep. So I think what you want is one row per client, and then within the client you have the name, and then one row per yard, and then within the yard you've got the address, um, creating a bit of a
Yeah.
tree structure.
Yeah. Because
So
I don't have the name of the client here.
yeah, yeah. So I think
Okay.
the way that you want to change this specification is to do that join to the yard one level down. So kind of mixing the two specifications together.
Mm.
So you've got the specification that gets you to the client. If you start there and then you add yards to that, and then you can put this specification
Mm.
inside of yards.
I will try that as an exercise for
Mm-hmm.
next week. Um, what did I wanted to? Yeah, I had some remarks here. One of the things, where was it? Here.
Mm-hmm.
Red dot sleep, 100 milliseconds. Problem that we see here,
Mm.
because we are using date.time. If I
Uh-huh.
don't use thread.sleep, if by accident my first yard, where was it? Yeah, my first yard, no, my first client is created at the end of the second or the millisecond, then the next one is the next second or millisecond, and I have two clients.
Yeah.
If they fall in the same time slot, I have a single client. So you have to be careful and to add some waiting time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a
We
few
need to
ways around it.
use
Yeah. Well, the
high
first thing is
resolution.
that it is to the millisecond. So
Mm,
I've in practicing with the notebooks myself, I've not gotten two calls to date time now in the same millisecond. Um,
mm.
I suppose it's possible, but there's an awful lot that's happening in await j.fact, so I know that it's gonna take tens of milliseconds. Um, so I haven't seen that collision, but if that is a
Well,
yeah, if that is a real concern that you see, then you can change it to use GUID instead of datetime.
just a random number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see whether I can reproduce it. Oh, wait, here I have one client, it was about client yards. Wait, where did I get
Yeah.
this? Client yard, yeah. So here I have 2 yards, and sometimes it became a single yard.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, that's surprising.
yeah,
I could
how can
see maybe if you'd forgot the await at some point, um, because then it will just start one, start the
look?
other. So maybe it's starting them both in the same millisecond. Um,
Here we have it.
oh wow!
Yeah. So
There it
we have
is.
a single client yard,
Uh-huh.
and then of course both addresses point to the same.
Yeah. So yeah. So let's take a look at that client yard. So we've got yard one, client two, supplier one, and yard two, client two, supplier one. They're both separately calling datetime now, so it's not like you're caching that and reusing it. And there's plenty of awaits in between, so you're actually doing 2 awaits before you get to the next one. That is really surprising that it came up with the same millisecond.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
wow. Yeah.
and I don't have a super fast computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That is.
yeah, you see now it is like this.
Uh
If
huh.
I say clear all outputs, run all.
It did it
Uh,
again.
did it again.
Yeah.
Clear all outputs, run all.
So it's not even a rare instance.
And here
Huh.
it's okay.
Okay.
On top of that,
Interesting.
it's a virtual machine. It's running on a virtual machine.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is very surprising. Um,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm going to play around with that, and then I still do like the date the created at as how you would do your application, but of course it messes with modeling um, because in the real world you've got a human pushing a button, and
Mm.
if they push the button twice in 1 millisecond, it's an accident, and they intended it to be the same thing. But yeah, so this is the kind of thing that wouldn't happen in a real application if it was a human driving it. If it was a batch import,
Mm.
so it's like, here's a CSV file of all my stuff. Now, create a whole bunch of facts. Then, yeah, this could happen again. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's just when people are modeling with notebooks, it was a little bit surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What's happening?"
Yeah.
And then I said, "Okay, I saw the same date."
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want, I sent you the notebook
Yeah.
later on. Then you can try.
Yep. Yeah, I would like
I
that.
will,
I
I
mean,
will
we
mail
also
it
have
to
it
you.
recorded here, so the proof is on YouTube now.
Yeah, then you have to type it over. I will just mail it to you later on.
Okay.
That will be easier. Um, then what was that? Okay. So in this case, I choose to just add facts. Do it very linear. We started last time, and I'm just adding types, adding facts, but it gets quite messy, I find.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'm gonna try to work all the model in the beginning, then the facts, and then the queries.
Okay. Yeah.
It might be because it's getting very messy now. I'm not sure what your experience is.
Yeah. 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 So far, my experience is that I jump around an awful lot. So so yeah, like this uh, uh, yeah, I'm trying to think. Should we go over the other model, the Azure Marketplace model, because yeah, in the Azure Marketplace model so far I haven't done any specifications, so it's
Mm.
just types, and there's no test data in there, but in the modeling the modeling example that I uploaded, that was the blog model. It was a very small model. So that one did have all of the pieces, but there wasn't much to it. I think in general, what I would say is that in order to come back and read it and understand it, it should be grouped by subdomain. So So here you're talking about yards and addresses. So that is in and of itself just one subdomain. If you were to then continue this same story and now talk about workers and assignments and tasks and all that other part, that's a different part of the model. So maybe it makes sense to do a little bit of copy and paste of the top level facts into a different notebook, and then talk about a different part of the model, but still have all of the expression. Yeah, another another thing. Right now, going to descriptive string, you're finding helpful, but maybe once you get more comfortable with it, that won't be interesting anymore, and you can just take that part out. And so now you're just looking at the results, and not the factual.
Well, I was thinking of
clear things up.
having my model completely at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and then, as you say, that one you can copy, but below that work by screen. So I say, okay, I want to have that particular screen. That's one workbook, one notebook. I start a second screen. That will be another notebook. So the model will be common, perhaps also the facts that I create, because the facts, it will be a whole bunch of facts in the end.
Mm-hmm.
But so the queries are in a separate notebook by screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Just an idea.
That makes sense. I like that idea. One
I'm
feature
gonna try it out.
Okay, good. I'd like to see how that works.
Then it stays modular and in function of the application.
Yeah. And one thing that I wish notebooks had was some way of including another notebook. So take that part that's the same, actually have that in one notebook, and then you can say include that, and then keep going. You can get there by taking your facts and your fact declarations, all your records, and compiling them into a DLL, and then you can reference that DLL. But then you don't see the code, and you can't change it if you need to change it. It's okay. Let's go back to the source code and change it. So maybe as things progress, so you can still have one notebook that describes how you derived the these top level facts, but then copy those, put them into C#, compile that. There's a DLL, and then the rest of them reference that DLL. But now you've got those facts described in two places.
We'll try it out and see what it does, and give you feedback afterwards.
Yeah.
Another thing.
It'd be nice to collapse a section. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to collapse a section. They would say, this is just code to make this work, but we don't need to see it. And now this is the part that we need to see.
No.
Yeah.
I thought there was. Let's see. Then another thing, naming is difficult, and you always said that you are bad at naming.
Yes, I am.
But I have the same trouble. Naming on two levels. Something I've been struggling before as well. One thing we always, for example, here the fact type and the record name. Does it have to be different?
No, those things don't actually need to be related at all.
Because it would be nice if we could just make them the same.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So derive the fact type from the C# type. Like use the namespace and the fully qualified name. Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about that. So my primary goal is to make sure that all languages interoperate. And so you should be able to describe these types in any language. And so there's a JavaScript way of saying the same thing, and it doesn't use any kind of reflection in order to figure out the name. So concern number one is that you'll write some C# code, and then you'll refactor by changing some names, and now your code no longer attaches to your data, or you'll refactor by changing the namespace, and so now everything is disconnected. And then concern number two is that you will version your model, and you will end up with you will need to have two different facts that refer records that refer to the same fact type. So this is the old version, this is the new version, and even though I don't have this mechanism built in yet, the plan is that if you have two records that reference the same fact type, then when it deserializes, it'll use the fields in the stored record to figure out which of the two versions to deserialize to. So that gives you that one-to-one between the record type and the fact type. And so that means that okay, I'd still have to have this mechanism for you to explicitly say what the fact type is, but then you will create your model without using this mechanism, and then in rare cases you will have to bring this mechanism in as an override. And that kind of thing always bugs me. When you start out easy, and then in order to make one step, you have to actually make two steps. I have to add an exponent before I can now change the exponent. Add the one in front, and now I can change it.
Is there somewhere on the SIT some guidelines for naming?
I think I
remember at one time we had something. Because for example, here username, so that's still okay. But then when you go to this yards, so you have a client name, a yard, and then a client yard address.
Yeah. Yep. And so you don't want the name to tell you the entire chain, but at what point do you start over? My rule of thumb has been you start over when you reach a new aggregate, you reach a new entity. So a yard is an important concept in the domain. You can talk about a yard as a thing, one umbrella where things happen, and you don't care about the other yards for that client. So I would say that that the third one should be dws.yard.
Yard and yard address.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, those rules should be documented, and in fact, they probably should be documented as part of the
modeling.
That modeling thing. So I'm pulling that up real quick. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Not janaka.com. Let's go to janaka.net. Hey, yeah. All right. So inside of the modeling section, top level facts. It's talking about how you would declare the facts, how you would save them, all that stuff. And then it's going like, maybe when we get to entities, it's like, okay, this is what the naming should look like. Mutable properties. It's not actually talking about what the names should look like. So that's that is something that should be in that documentation.
Perhaps also add that to use the restart button.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make sure you have the latest the latest version.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
um,
Which ultimately that was the problem that we kept on running into last time, and I spent some time
mm,
this week trying to figure out a good solution to that problem. Um, so yeah, remember last week we did come up with the idea of creating a Visual Studio extension,
mm,
um, so that I can build up the just the features that I want and take out the mutability that's part of notebooks. So that would basically be rebuild notebooks, but just make them immutable. Um, and um, I did a proof of concept on that. So I got to an extension that could open a code editor and put some code in it, but the code didn't know its context. So I couldn't say, you have access to the Janaga.net NuGet package and have it do IntelliSense and all that stuff. Um, and so in order for it to have context, I actually had to open a workspace, which opened a brand new window, and had the navigation of like, here's the code file, and so now you're in the code. Yeah, you've got access to everything that's in that workspace, but you've just created a brand new workspace. It could have just been a project template.
mm,
so so yeah, and then from there, I couldn't think of, well, how do I actually get back to the things that I want, like rendering graphs, executing the code. So yeah, in the end, I said, you know what, we should really just double down on notebooks, make the notebooks experience good, and yeah, teaching people about that restart button. Um, that's
mm,
going to be a big part of it. Restart, run all. That's the key to solving, at least half of the problems that we ran into.
mm. Okay. I think that's about, yeah, that were all the remarks that I had. Ah, yeah, one last one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in the model. Um, right. So let me switch over to the model. Change window. Here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the model from which we used last time. So there, on analyzing the screen, I discovered that client, we had to add a client name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. But then I'm wondering, for the moment, client is under supplier. Wouldn't
Yes.
it be interesting to make client top level?
Yes.
Because the same clients might be used by another supplier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there we have the problem of confidentiality. Um,
Yeah.
the client of one company should not show up in the list of another company.
Right. Right. Yeah.
What
And
is
so
your suggestion?
if the clients could um, yeah, so I think it would start with, what's your business relationship with suppliers and with clients, because that change in the model fundamentally changes uh, your business model. So if your relationship, right now your relationship is with the supplier. They are the ones that approach you and say, I want to be part of the system. They're where your money comes from, um, and so they have that complete umbrella. Um, and then that's part of the user provisioning process, is that we'll talk about the user provisioning process that we want, is that the user logs into the application and then petitions the supplier to become a worker or to become a dispatcher. And so that user relationship is with the supplier once in order to authorize them. So this is not an application for clients. This is an application for suppliers. It's an application about clients. Once you elevate client to the top level, now it becomes an application for clients as well as for suppliers. And so now you have to establish a business relationship with the client. You'd have to have the user provisioning and authorization at the client level as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would want to make sure that you partition the data not just by supplier as it is now, but also by that relationship between supplier and client, so that you can express the distribution rules. You'll express where are those boundaries. So if you want to show a supplier only the work that they have done for all of their clients, then there would have to be some supplier client fact that joins those two, some relationship between those two, and then that's the unit of distribution. Maybe you want to show a client the work that was done for them for all of their suppliers, and so now they are going to that supplier client level, but now just looking at the relationships that they have with suppliers. So you're subdividing at that union, that combination of the intersection, I guess, of supplier and client, and then giving suppliers all of those for all across all of their clients, and then giving clients all of those across all of their suppliers. If any of that makes sense.
Yeah, for the moment, yeah, it are the suppliers who pay me, and they are quite sensitive about their clients.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, it might indeed be better to keep client, predecessor of successor of supplier.
Yep.
Which means that every supplier have to fill his database, his fact database with clients.
Yep. And it may be that the same physical client, with the same physical yards, with the same addresses, show up in two different suppliers. I'm sure
Yep.
that happens. And that's just data. It's
because that's if everything is this. I know. No, the predecessor is the supplier, so it will be two different facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you were to analyze those two different facts, you would say, well, these two yard addresses have the same fields, but their predecessors are different.
Yeah.
So that would the model reflects your business model, and so I think unless you really want to change your business model, this is the right way to go.
Oh, no, we keep it that way for the moment.
Yeah, don't upset the people who make who pay you.
No more questions for the moment.
All right. Well, excellent. Yeah. So I'm going to keep making progress toward the Azure Marketplace. I'll update the documentation from things that we talked about here, and hopefully soon I'll be able to show you a purchase experience in the marketplace, and how that all fits together, and then I can peel back the covers and show how it's using Janaga in order to accomplish that.
Okay. That's great news.
Yeah, so that'll all be really, really fun. Very good. Yeah, I'm excited by this progress. Yeah, I'm also looking forward to to seeing you get to the point where you're building some Maui screens, and you're tying these to the view models. That's an experience that I really want to see more people have with the team that was working, and the team in Improving that was working on a client project. They relied very heavily on query within the Maui application, and I was confused by that. It's like, well, the query is not for that kind of binding it to a view model. That's what Watch is for. But they had some difficulty understanding and getting Watch to work, and so they said, well, we just did the query, show the data, and then do the refresh by running another query, and it worked just fine. What's the big deal? Tried to minimize our Watch as much as possible, Um, so, uh, which is a choice. It's not the choice that I would make, but yeah, uh, that's basically using Janaga as if it were your regular data management system, because that's what you do. You query a thing and you show the data. So yeah, I would like to see what your experience is there
Mm.
once we get there.
Because I think that's going to be the next big difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because until now I still haven't looked into Jinaga, so or not seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the Jinaga learning curve. Um,
Yeah,
no,
the
the
historical
Maui
modeling learning curve and then
the,
the Janaga
the
learning
Maui
curve, yeah, and
learning
the Maui
curve.
learning curve, yeah.
Yeah, it's that one, not Jinaga.
Mm-hmm.
The Maui learning curve. So the combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm going to try to reorganize the code. I'm going to try to complete that screen. That should be the target for next week. And then the week after, try to come up with a real Maui screen and
Very
see
good.
where that gets us.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be exciting.
yeah, gonna be full of surprises.
All right.
Uh, because I'm even thinking in that particular screen. So if we are, wait, let me show the screen again. We're talking about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it will be use of the query and not the watch.
Yeah, for the
I think.
notebook, watch doesn't doesn't really make sense. It's really hard to demonstrate watch
Oh,
inside of a notebook.
but
So.
once I start building this screen in Maui,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just filling combo boxes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't want combo boxes changing underneath it. Yeah, so that's one of those
yeah,
cases where you do want query. Yes.
yeah. It's gonna be different from for the main screen here. So here on top, you have all these tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and so if somebody modifies a task, you want
Yes.
your screen to be updated.
Yeah.
Because right now the update here at the bottom, yeah, now you see my cursor.
Mm-hmm.
Here at
Yeah.
the bottom you have a refresh screen, a refresh button,
Mm-hmm.
and even the software refreshes the screen every 5 minutes or every,
Mm.
I think, 1 minute or something. But so that would be an ideal case for watch.
Yep. 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 I think so. Yeah, and I
Normal
think
polling,
I
normal
think
polling. It's
good.
yeah, it's notification at that moment
Mm-hmm.
to watch.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think the difference that they ran into, they're focusing just on the mobile experience, and so you
Mm.
see one screen at a time. This you see that screen in the background while you're still working in the dialogue, and then you finish the dialogue. You want to see the screen update immediately. Um,
Mm.
so that is a different experience, and there are two ways to get that. It's just like redo the query or use watch. Redoing the query has a whole bunch of negative side effects. Like you lose your selection and your scroll position and all that fun stuff. Um,
Mm.
yeah, watch preserves all that. Um, so yeah, since they weren't building a rich desktop application, they could kind of get away with just using query. Um, so maybe that's what you'll find is that it'll be easier to do query in the worker mobile app and watch in parts of the
Mm.
distributor desktop app.
What I'm thinking right now is that the purpose was to start with a mobile app,
Oh
but
yeah,
these are screens of the desktop app.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's continue with the desktop part first. Uh, that should be possible also in Maui. So
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
let's see where that gets us. Um, because the screens, yeah, the screens of the mobile app are quite complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I think Well, it depends. Well, once I get into Maui, it might be even simple. But
Hmm.
if you know
Yeah,
everything is simple
yeah.
before you know.
And modeling the desktop application in order to build the mobile application is still not a bad thing, because now you know that you're building on top of a model that's going to support the desktop. If you went straight to modeling the mobile application, you might miss some of the nuances about how things should be related. Um, because at that point you'd be thinking, well, this data is has already been done, so let me just model the data. But historical modeling is not about modeling data; it's about modeling process.
Great. We will see all that for next week.
Yes, indeed. Well then,
Okay. Unless
same
you
time.
still have something.
Nope, nope. That is all.
Okay. Okay. Then we see each other next week, Thursday.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, Michael.
See you
Thank you
then.
very much. Bye bye.
Bye.